Welcome to Sixes Overdrive. It's cold again, first snowfall of the year, so obviously we're not going to be talking about motorbikes today. We're going to be talking about smoking. That's right, smoking on your smoker. Today we're going to be doing beef short ribs. And I'm going to tell you how to do that right after we just do some shoveling and everything. I've already got the ribs on the barbecue, so we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how I do my short ribs. They are so delicious. Get all your friends together, get ready for a good cook, because with this recipe, you're gonna make a lot of new friends and you're gonna sell a lot of smokers. So this morning, I got up early and I prepped these short ribs for you. So we're just gonna go quickly into the prepping before I go outside and do some driveway. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is take a knife and trim off the fat on the meat side of the bone. Now, that's not all fat. That's what they call a silver lining as well, or a silver skin. Now, the reason you want to take that off is because it's not really 100% fat. It's not going to render down properly and it's going to be chewy and you're going to have to, it's not good. Take it off. Do not take off the bottom side of the silver skin like you would with a pork rib. These beef ribs, they fall off the bone. So you need that little bit of a silver skin to hold the meat on the bone. You're not going to be really eating on that side of the bone anyway. There's very, very little meat there. After you have that trimmed, you're going to want to take out a rub. Any rub's going to do, whatever you guys like. Just make sure it's a beef rub, which is usually mostly salt and pepper and maybe some garlic and stuff in it. Some people put coffee grounds in their rubs. You can use everything. I'm using the Holy Cow beef rub from Meat Church. It's a very tasty rub if you want to use it. The Traeger ones work fine. Just about anything works. Now, while you rub the meat down, make sure that you put lots of it on, all right? Because it's going to be a slow cook. We're talking about 6-7 hours because like I said before, these back ribs are like a brisket. They need to be low and slow to break down and render the fat. After we have that rubbed, let's go outside and set the grill to 225 degrees is what I recommend. Now for me, that's the maximum I can put on a smoke. Now these ribs are going to be cooked to an internal temperature of 200 to 205 degrees. So you're going to want to get your grill up to about 225. Whatever you can super smoke at is not as important. You're going to get a good roast no matter what with these pellet grills. So no matter what, if you have to do it at 225 and you can't get a super smoke, that's fine too. Don't worry about it. You'll still get plenty of the wood flavor into the meat. So try to let that rub sit for a good half an hour at least. Sometimes I like to do it at least an hour. If you're doing anything more than that, always make sure that your meats are covered and at bare minimum sitting on the counter. Some people, if they're going to let it sit for 2 or 3 hours, I'd put it in the fridge covered up. And after that, we're going to just simply go outside and place these on the grill. Make sure they're in the middle of the rack because we don't want direct heat on them. We don't want the stuff coming out from the sides to burn off the ends and dry out the meat. We want to have it just a nice convection oven in there. So after we're done rubbing the meat, we're going to let it sit for at least half an hour while we're preheating the barbecue up to the 225 mark. Now, if it's cold like it is here, you're probably going to want to put a blanket over your barbecue unless you have a high-end timberline like I do with the double walls in it. Mine will hold smoke at 225 even when it's -10 and blowing like it is right now. So if you don't pick up a thermal blanket, it's got to be heat rated. You don't want to melt this thing on your grill, but put that on so you can keep your smoke going. Now, you're going to want to wrap that up or whatever, let it sit for a half an hour to an hour, and let all that rub soak into the meat, and then put it on the grill in the middle of the grill. Make sure it's not on the edges because the edges are going to burn the meat. Make sure you just have it right in the middle of the grill so that the smoke and the heat are all circulating around the meat, but you're not getting direct heat from the flame. Now, while we're doing that, we might as well do some stuff because you're not going to touch this sucker unless you're into spraying, and that's not part of my recipe. But if you are, you're probably going to have to spray. At least leave it for a good hour to an hour and a half before you start spraying, and then after that, spray for half an hour. I'm not spraying. I'm just leaving it in there, and then later we're going to braise it. And for those of you who don't know what braising is, it's just putting it in a broth and into a covered container or wrapping it up, putting it back on the grill again for the rest of the cook. So let's go outside, let's get some driveways shoveled and stuff like that and enjoy the winter while we can, because we've got a good 5 to 8 hours, depending on the thickness of the meat, to get up to 200 degrees. It's a good thing my neighbor came along with that quad, because we'd still be out there, and it is heavy snow. The snow is coming down like crazy. It's sticking to the ground, because up until now it was hovering around 0. Now it's -10, but the ground is still warm, so it's making the snow quite heavy. It's quite the workout. Let's go check on that meat and see if we're ready to braise yet. Looking pretty good. Oh, that's warm. Here's the part where we actually check the meat to see if it's around 160 degrees is about where we want, before we actually put it in the braising solution and put it back on the grill and to cook up to around 200. So we want to take this probe, inject it in the biggest, fattest part of the meat. So I'm going to do that right above the bone here, like that. We'll stick the probe in. So 160 is the number. Let's see, I'll bring this down for you. So we're about 150, 153, somewhere in there. So by the time I make up my brining solution and everything, we should be good. Well, let's get some gloves on here. I usually just like to take a little pan that at least holds halfway up the meat, maybe all the meat, and then we pour the braise over top of the meat, which is usually just red wine, some beef base, like some beef bouillon, that kind of stuff. So let's get these off the grill. They're at 160 now, so usually I like to find a pan that's a little more suited to the size of the meat, but this is all I have right now. So we're going to pour some red wine over it. A little bit of flavor there. Now you want this braise. There we go. Lots of wine. Put the cork in there so we can enjoy that some other time. So let's get that beef broth and we'll put it into the boiling water. Okay, we've got the mixture all done here. We're going to cover it up. And put it back on the grill till it hits 200. So that's about all we can do for a while. Got to let it render till it hits about 200, and then we take it off and let it sit for a while. Always do these things. They take so long, but always make sure you're early, because you can always throw it into a cooler, wrap it up in foil and everything, and it'll keep the heat in. But it's more important that it sits for a while after you're done. So I'll see you again when we take it off the grill and show you how it turned out. Looks like we're sitting around 170, 180. It's around 230 now. So I think, providing we don't stall out too much, I think our meal's going to be ready by 4, so we're going to definitely be early. So I'm going to have to pull out a cooler, wrap it all in tin foil, and serve it around 5 o'clock tonight. Well, I got the warning that my pellets are low, but I know they're not because I filled it at the start of this cook. Sometimes on these pellets, you have to stir them around a little bit because it's clearly not empty. But it's reading that it is because it cooks. Oh, it's that cold. Whew. It's just blowing out there. All right, everybody. 5 o'clock, probe is reading the right temperature. Let's bring these in and see where they're at. We still have to let them rest for 15 minutes, but now's the time we see what's really going on here. I'll be right back. Doors wide open, storm is pouring in. Everybody ready for this? Let's pull off the foil. We'll put it back on the plate so we can wrap it up for another 15 minutes. Always a little bit of apprehension when you're doing this, hoping that, what was it, 7 hours that you spent are good. Ooh, I can really smell the wine. Look at this. Ooh. Are those bones just ready to pop right out? Would you just look at that, guys? Look at them wiggle. All right, guys. Well, remember to share, like, comment, and subscribe for more grilling fun. And we'll see you next time. This is Six's Overdrive. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.